Brilliant. So I'm just saying good morning. We've just had a round of who's who at our event this morning. It's one of a couple of events where we're starting to share with people what we're up to at Flourish between now and the end of the year, and no doubt into next year. We've had a really, really busy couple of years, supported over 180 women into social enterprise development through a number of programmes, and we've not stopped for breath really. And we want, because we've got a lot of other exciting things going on behind the scenes that we need to create some bandwidth to do, we've tried to think, how can we work a bit smarter with the way that we work as a team, and how can we help all these people that we've been working with for the last few years plug into some really, hopefully really good support with us and a wider set of associates, but also create space for people to consistently come together. What's happened is we've ran a number of cohort style programs. A number of you will have been on these cohort style programs. A lot of information there, a lot of connection building, all very remote through Zoom in the main, with smatterings of real world stuff. But what we've heard from some research that we've done with a growth company just recently, looking into the support needs of social entrepreneurs, which a lot of it's not new stuff, but there are some nuances post-COVID, and then listening to people who've now got all these tools and resources, and they know what they need to know or what they don't know, and they need time to actually focus on getting stuff done. We've created these working out of home days that helps people, we hope, come together in an informal but a kind of work day where we can run a number of sessions on specific themes that we'll ask for your thoughts on later. We'll be running this kind of, we call it kind of circuit training, haven't we? I don't know if people remember the good old H's where you were like doing press ups in one corner and sit-ups in another, but we can create a series of areas or zones around the building where we'll have people looking at their sort of cash flow forecasting, financial management. Bid writing will be a constant, ongoing theme, strategic leadership, social value measurement, business planning, basically the building blocks and the nitty gritty, so people will come to work on whatever they want to do. And between me and Shelley and a lot of our brilliant knowledge that we've got from having worked in the social enterprise world for a long time, and a lot of Shelley's background as well has been in sort of marketing, media and communications, and that's not on there, which I'm just thinking, a sheet over there I'm asking people to think about in a minute. But we can create, hopefully, more tailored support to people, partly through these Flourishing Mondays, which we've handed some stuff out and we'll email those details over to you, but also through intensive support where we're looking out, and particularly today, and particularly through the people that we're talking to through these calls, we're looking for 20 or so women-led social businesses as part of a programme that Matt's and his team at the Business Growth Company have backed us to do. And those are for social ventures that are a little bit more established. So they might be 1 to 3 years or 3 to 5 to 10 years plus, where they're seeking to create a little bit of step change and they need some intensive support to grow. So alongside these Flourishing Mondays, there's a good couple of days of consultancy support alongside whatever you want to get in and out of, basically. Additionally, when we have another event like this on the 27th of June, we'll be talking a bit more broadly about wider stuff, but Manchester City Council, who've been a strong backer of ours for a number of years now, have invested in us to do some additional targeted support in North Manchester, which is partly why we're based here, but we're based here because we just really like it. And it's a bit more convenient actually than central Manchester once you get here and you know where it is. And we've also got some work that we're going to do. So there's you guys who are more established, but then we've got lots of people who aren't, who are still finding their way in social enterprise. And so we can help them with bid writing and intensive support in similar ways that we can do with you. So in theory, between now and next March, we're looking to support about, if my maths is right, around 60, no doubt be a lot more, but 60 or so people with intensive support that looks like dipping in and out of whatever they want with these Flourishing Mondays, one-to-one coaching and mentoring, consultancy time to look on some specific outcomes, some specific deliverables that you want to work on, and anything else that we can create in that time. that in a nutshell is how the year is going to play out. We've also, alongside all of this, got the How To Festival rolling on. And some of you have been involved in the How To Festival, and I haven't got loads of fancy stuff to sort of show you on that. I've got the pop-up banner the day after like the holiday, but the How To Festival has come about because we've created a lot of digital content, lots of webinars, lots of listen again stuff, and so we've created an online festival between now and the end of the year. We've just been testing it and piloting it for the last few months. I think there's now about 21 webinars. We had to make sure there was enough on there before we could tell the wider world, so they didn't come on and go, what the hell's this? So the first few of you that have come on have gone, what the hell's this? But it's all coming together now. And the likes of Vicky at Belton Wigan, Michaela, who's done a lot of volunteering support with us and develop our own stuff, Anna, who some of you might have spoken to, have all been hands on deck pulling this together to make it all happen. And so, as an aside, there's all these other things, so that if there are pockets of information or things you need a recap on or whatever else, you can pick up things around social enterprise development, creative and digital skills, or most importantly, health and well-being for everybody who's busy and not, looking after themselves fully while they're busy running their social ventures, can dip into this other stuff at their own time where that's convenient. So yeah, in a nutshell, Flourishing Mondays, this intensive support for 60 or so people, and the How To Festival is kind of how we're going to roll this year, we think. And the only other thing I'll say on that before I sort of hand over is part of the reason that we're trying to condense our time in this way is because we ourselves are going through a kind of business review and business planning process to kind of evolve. And within some of what we're doing over the coming years, we're meant to be taking on a couple of venues. And so some of you may have heard along the line, we've got the Heaton Chapel stations derelict first floor, and we're looking at turning that into a social enterprise work hub, and that's business planned now, and we're just going to faff about for the rest of the year to get the doors open with lots of meetings. But we've also been asked to consider taking on Broadbottom Station, which is in Tameside, and whilst it's completely different to some of the other stuff, and it's a bit of a kind of destination, there are 2 trains an hour that go to Broadbottom, which I'm quite excited about. Never, wherever I've lived, it's only been 1 an hour. So there's 2 stations an hour. It's a really interesting space that we can do an awful lot with, both in partnership with the community in Broadbottom to give them what they want, but also as an alternative sort of venue for things that people might want to do. I think it was a bar or something at one point. It's got this mezzanine exhibition space. It's got space for whatever, cafe or pop-up restaurant or working space, a big events sort of seminar room, and there's a residential element to it, which we're very interested in, because looking at housing is something that we're looking at over time. So in a nutshell, I'll shut up. At least I've given you a quick potted history of what's called potted future of what's coming up. I'd like to hand over to Matt if I can, because he's taken the time to come over today, partly to have some one-to-ones in the mix, which we're going to start doing soon with people who we've got, but partly to just say a bit about the growth company and I guess why they felt the need to contract Flourish, I guess, and what we're hoping to do, what you'd like to see.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. Well, nice to see everybody. I hope you all had a nice bank holiday weekend. So yeah, I'm Matt Richardson. I'm the social value lead for the growth company. I've been in this role for 12 months or so, but we've been with the growth company in various guises before that. Also used to work for sort of community leisure, used to do a lot of health and wellbeing, sports activities, community development stuff, things like that. So a lot of what everyone's been saying really does, it's kind of touch to do with me, because it is a real passion of mine, as it is with you. So how this has kind of come about, or what I should probably mention, is the growth company itself. So the growth company is a social enterprise, just over 25 years old now. It used to be, the growth company has been called Manchester Growth Company, something else before that, but it does ultimately, it's a bit like Triggers Brooming, only for us and also it's got lots of different parts, but it's pretty much the same thing. But we offer training and skills, job opportunities, business support, and it's just grown and grown as we've gone. The reason we dropped the Manchester part is that we've started to win regional and national contracts on some of the work that we've done now as well. A lot of our funding currently comes from the Combined Authority in Greater Manchester, but also Europe, so ERDF funding. So I won't bore you too much now, but because of the support that we've provided is fully funded, we then have to make sure there is that paper trail of what support we are providing and evidencing what we've done and how we've done it and what that impacts are. Under the growth company, which is the umbrella organisation, you've got various different organisations that sit under that: recruitment, skills, business support, and this is where this fits in. So the Business Growth Hub is the organisation that I'm ultimately speaking on behalf of today. So Business Growth Hub has been going for 11 years now, and has various different teams in that organisation that support various different areas of growth within that organisation. So if you had just had a business idea, didn't know where to go, that's a startup team that can help with that, and pre-startup team. You've just set yourselves up and you're just starting to trade, we've got that startup team. You're then potentially looking at taking staff on. We've got a people skills and talent team who can help you manage those people, look at things like HR, includes EDI, all that kind of stuff. We've also got a manufacturing team. So again, if you were manufacturing certain products, they can look at that process of how to make it more efficient, more lean in the way that they work. We have a resource efficiency team. So if you had your own site, they can look at energy savings, your kind of overall impacts on the environment. We've got a digital creative and tech team, does what it says on the tin, kind of from a digital skills perspective, reviewing of websites, looking at the way that people market themselves, etc., etc. Who else we've got? Access to finance. So if you had trouble getting support from any of the mainstream banks previously, they've got alternative routes that you can potentially look at, and they've also got access to something called GC Angels, which is a handful of individuals who can support directly into organisations who are maybe looking for that cash injection. I'm trying to think who else we've got now so we don't miss anybody. And then my team, I'm just thinking I've got my team as well. So I've got the social value team. So the social value team only really came to fruition in October last year. So within that, we cover social value in its broadest form. What it is. So we get a lot of organisations, and I appreciate I'm preaching some conversing here, because in the nature of what you do, injects massive amount of social impact on the area. But we still get a lot of organisations who have no idea what social value is. Probably do it, they just maybe don't make that connection.
And I guess the majority of people that you're working with are traditional private sector.
That's it. Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, I could be sat with a business within 5 minutes. I'll be able to tell whether they're doing it for the right reasons or not. Whether it's to win a contract or it's actually something they are interested in doing for the business. I also get, I've been told I need to speak to you because I'm now taking on social value for this role, so I need to understand it. That's what we often get as well. So already you started from a kind of blank canvas with there, but it is still in its infancy. We provide advisory support around that. We also have an EDI advisor, so supporting businesses to become more inclusive workplaces. There is a huge focus on organisations around diverse recruitment, trying to broaden and have the horizons around where they recruit people from. My challenge to that would be businesses or organisations aren't doing enough around actually becoming an inclusive workplace in the first place. You can do a lot of work to drive people into the organisation, but people aren't going to stay if it doesn't mirror what you're describing as an organisation itself. So we see a lot of issues with that. Also building confidence in leaders to be able to talk about EDI. When I feel like I had this same conversation maybe 2 or 3 years ago where and you'll have found it yourself, organisations having the confidence to talk about health and wellbeing, mental health with staff, and being a broad topic for discussion and for people to be able to have those open conversations with staff. We still see now a lot of leaders who just bury their head in the sand and just don't want to address that conversation. But instead, if they're going to bury their head in the sand, at least be aware of what support services are around there to signpost staff to. But we're still seeing a lot of barriers around that. We've also got a third sector development advisor, so Stuart. So if you're here on the 27th, you'll meet Stuart. Stuart previously worked for MAC for many years. And again, he's going to be supporting particularly yourselves around the development of this programme and future ones, which kind of really goes on to my final point really around why we've, one, set this team up in the first place, and two, want to do the work that we are doing. Business Growth Hub is an amazing resource, and I can have these conversations on a one-to-one basis around the support that is available. What isn't as good, and what I think we do need to be working on, is looking at accessibility issues, making sure if we are really talking about getting out to as many communities as possible, we need to be engaging with those communities and understanding what those potential barriers are. We've perhaps relied on the scale and success of the growth company. Well, if we put something on, people will come, and we'll worry about who they are and where they're from at the end of it. Whereas that's great, and that's really supported us over the last 10 years or so, but what we need to be doing more of is really doing targeted work with communities to understand what their challenges are. Because what, for example, we, alongside this, so providing female-led business provision, we are also delivering ethnic minority-led business provision. Now, again, that's not something we've done previously. Perhaps and this again, probably sharing too much here, but in previous years, our workforce has not represented the communities that we're trying to serve, which is a barrier in itself. But then also trying to understand those challenges. I can't attest to know what those challenges potentially are, so I need to engage with those communities to understand what they are. And we're not going to do that unless we're having conversations like this. So that's part of the reason, selfishly, for me coming today as well, to understand a little bit more about what those challenges might be. So that's why we're trying to, the last 12 months or so, really trying to spend a lot of time to do more specialised work like this, and working with the likes of Flourish, who have done this for many, many years around that targeted work. We need to also be mindful that we don't have all the skills and expertise within this organisation. Yes, it's a fantastic organisation, but we rely heavily on fantastic partners such as yourselves to provide that extension of what we do. So hopefully that's kind of provided a little snapshot of where we've come from, where we're aiming to go, and hopefully I can have those conversations with you today, just for my own knowledge and experience, really. If there's anything you can help me with, or any challenges that you face, that if we as a platform can support that, or we can support our partners to help with that, that would be a kind of win-win in my eyes. So yeah, that, unless anybody's got any questions, that was.
We'll see if we've got questions in a second.
Yeah, of course.
The other, another sort of slight sort of the time is now moment as well for Manchester, or Greater Manchester at the moment, is there's an awful lot going on around social enterprise. There always has been, but I think because Andy Burnham and various teams across the strategic partnership and forums across Greater Manchester are really sort of trying to push a strong social economy. I think they have recognised through COVID the value of how charities and social enterprises and other community-led organisations have stepped up, made the difference, and actually grown in many ways through the pandemic. Don't get me wrong, many have had hard times and had to sort of think differently, but we've become visible, let's say, or more visible through that time, because for a long while now, the strategic powers that be have wanted to create this thing called inclusive growth, and they've realised you can't get inclusive growth unless you involve the social enterprise world and the charitable worlds a little bit more, because we're the ones who know how to do it well, and people perhaps often underestimate what the charity and social enterprise world does, when we can actually be a really good partner, teacher, and like connector to opportunities, and we've built trust over many years to be able to achieve things that certain other organisations perhaps can't. All of these sorts of things sort of play together we're hoping that over the next year or two there'll be some really, really good step change, because a lot of people have been running social enterprises either under the radar or in small ways, or in their own paced way, which is the only way you can run them quite often. But there's a lot on the brink of growth, and we want to make sure that certainly all of the people that we've been supporting over the recent years can get the right support to make those decisions. That do they want to grow? Is this right for them? And how do they do that in a managed way, so it's not overwhelming or impossible, or that the timings sort of fit is right, we hope. So we'll see where we get. We're certainly excited to see where things go, and we're today going to be spending a little bit of time in some one-to-ones. Time went a little bit over, but that's why. We've got a little sheet here for people to put their names for a one-to-one if they haven't got one already. We're going to create a bit of a networking area to just chat, and I have got some questions for people who are here, just to give us some thoughts really on what they make of what we're planning. These one-to-ones that we'll have are just a way to get some paperwork done and then we'll handle all that out in a minute. We'll send things over to Val and Zoe and Matt. Matt and myself have got some one-to-ones that we'll roster in so that we can sort some of that now. And just asking questions that if you're able to get some intensive support, what's the priority for you? We've had those conversations a little bit in the lead up to today, but I think just pinning down what might some of the key things be for you over the next year that either you need to do in your own organisation, or that you've spotted, if you can create some focused time either on these days or behind the scenes or in your own way. What's that focus time need to produce? And if there's some of our sort of extra capacity hands on deck to help with a couple of targeted, whatever it is, bids, documents, PESEL reports, impact measurement, wherever people are at with what they need, just spotting what those key deliverables might need to be. We can work out what we can do within this, what we can top up with other bits of stuff, or where actually there's more demand for stuff than we've got and we need to go and work all that out. So anybody got any questions before we grab another brew and get into some one-to-ones? I'll go and dig out my laptop. Any questions at all?
It's not really a question, just an observation. I found that I've taken a different route because I'm doing land. So
yes,
most will get a room rented, 10 grand from the Lords for all, but when you're sustainably regenerating 2 acres, 10 grand is not cut it at all. So I'm trying to find different bids, but it's quickly becoming, you might find it being outside that risk assessment. So we're going to be having goats, fire, children's play areas, Japanese knotweed. It's like I'm getting a bit overwhelmed because my normal mentors like you, we need to have it all like indoor space. So finding people who
totally. Yeah, but we've got access to people who know stuff. So and access to other social enterprise advisors like ours who've helped people create more either rural based initiatives.
Too much red tape, let's not bother, because the benefits of the outdoor spaces.
Totally, and there's always between other people who've been there and done it that we can connect you into, other specialists who are working on initiatives more like that, or accessing some of what Matt's described through the growth of where there will be specialists in there. We'll be able to have a look at some of that, and it's just it's pinning down what do you need, and then we can piece it together from there. Any other questions or thoughts right now? No. Before we leave you, or I think what will happen is Val might stay on this. Have you brought a laptop with you by any chance, Matt? Awesome. Could I ask Shelley, would you help Matt get on the Wi-Fi and get on the Zoom? And then I will set up a breakout so that Val can go in there and then it'll all work out. What am I thinking? Before we leave people to do what's what, I'm just coming over to this funny wall here because whether you're listening again or not, this is still feedback that people can give us either through email or just tell us or whatever. We've obviously, and this will come on, and this won't be in the way you want to see it, but we've got a whole list of every other Mondays that are going on. So from today until just before everyone starts wrapping up for the end of the year and Christmas and stuff, fortnightly we're here at the Residence Centre with these we're calling them social enterprise support days, but in a nutshell it's various zoned areas where we'll be looking at helping people in tailored ways for what they need. And there'll be myself, there'll be Shelley, there's a guy called Gajinder Kang who does some work with us around financial management, Kerry Bertram, who's done a lot of stuff around strategic leadership and worked in this world for a long time, Nikki Dickens, who's, I've learned a lot of what I've done over the years through her. She's sort of my backstop, if you will. She's going to be coming and getting involved in some of this stuff. Adrian Ashton is another guy who could definitely help with the query that Nicolette's just talked about there around outdoor and land and all that sort of stuff. So we can bring other people in to work out of home on these days, to work on a whole range of topics. Just before I get onto those topics, the other thing we've got monthly in and amongst all of this, because we've now trained up a load of people in holistic therapies, and that's all been going quite well, we've committed to running a monthly pop-up spa day. So whether you want to keep coming on a Monday to chill out and get some massage and meditation or whatever, it's an option. Or if you've got talks or workshops or things that you want to share, these pop-up spa days are a mixture of talks, on various forms of well-being to promote what you do and to connect with other people and for people to learn all sorts, alongside getting some downtime and connecting with other people in a more informal way. So that's what we've got going on there. And in terms of topics, and there's more to add on here, we've got ourselves and other specialists who will be coming to work on Mondays from here on anything from, as I said, cash flow forecasting is often a big one for lots of reasons, both for bid writing purposes, but for sustainability and business planning. And everybody's tinkers with business planning and does what they need and leaves out what they don't need. And some people focus on it and get it done, and some people chip away at certain parts of it. We're not, we're a broad church when it comes to business planning, but we know, it's a key element of what you're doing, and wherever you're at with your own, we can certainly help create focus time to help you with more of that. Social value is something Matt talked about just before, myself, Nikki Dickens and Adrian Ashton and others, social value specialists, and can help either just build skills or do targeted work and reports around this stuff. Strategic leadership is often a big thing, where when you're starting to create that step change, or you're growing what you're doing, or you're banging your head against a wall, either sectorally or in your local area, looking at how to navigate things is key. And my question is, what's missing? And certainly creative and digital and comms is something, Shelley and other colleagues that we've got can come and work from here and support with all of that. So be having a think. I think if in listening to some of that you think, oh, that's great, but I actually need this, it'd be great if Val and Zoe could put in the chat any what's missing in terms of themes, but also there's what else can we create over time. A lot of you will know that around the edges we try and squeeze every ounce of impact or useful potential out of what it is we're doing. And we've run things like the Ellie programme this past year, where listening and spotting, actually there's all these women support organisations, and it's a sector in itself. It's a chunk of the social economy that isn't getting the right support. We've created a strategic leadership programme for women in the women's support sector and done all sorts of things there. We've been giving out, as many of you know, because you've had them, giving out cash awards to evolve what people are doing. If the whatever else or whatever's missing, or there's something that needs doing but no one's doing it, whilst we've got various brains here on a Monday, we can chip away at people gently to see what else useful might be able to evolve. So I think I'll leave it there. And all as I will say is, obviously we're based here at the Resonance Centre on those Mondays, but we are looking at targeted work in Stockport, Wigan, Trafford, Tameside, Manchester, bits of Salford. We've just been asked to do some work over there. So we're here, there and everywhere, and we're glad to support people where they are, because that's what we've always done. And we look forward to seeing where we get, or where we help you all get, by the end of the year or by next March, based on how the support rolls. So thank you for listening. I hope it's been of interest, and we'll get our one-to-ones happening, so you can tell us what you think, you can tell us what you need, and then we'll see what we can do. Does that sound all right? So we'll get the kettle back on. I'll stop recording, and we'll see people soon. Okay. Stop recording. There we go.